Just in relationship to, you do have the authority to hire the city manager. Could you give me a brief review of how we selected the interim, city manager?
That was voted on in executive session and passed by an affirmative vote, that's all I can tell you.
How many names were put out that y'all selected?
That was all discussed in executive session, will not tell you.
Okay, so you cannot tell me if there were more than one?
No.
Okay, thank you. My concern is the credibility of our city, credibility of each one of you. We don't understand what has happened. I know you guys have good reason for what you've done. I'm sure that y'all have investigated what evidence y'all had, and y'all make a decision based on the evidence that you had. I don't know if you guys have any idea how to verify evidence or that type of thing, but I guess y'all just figured out that was the best thing to do. I am concerned about how it happened. That Mr. Haak is a respected businessman. He makes good decisions. He's been very successful. But I don't understand how you walk out of one meeting and then go into another and immediately he's called and without having some type of collusion or how that was all happening. Even I don't understand any of that really. Not anything against him, but just the process. I'm not understanding how the process worked. And further, I want to understand if this is going to be an avalanche. Is this just the start? Are we going to have a new police chief next? Or are we going to have a new public works director? Or are we going to have a new fire marshal? Is this just the start? Or can anyone tell me or reassure me that this was a necessary thing and this is, as the citizens, we do not understand what has happened. And even though it was an executive session that's made to protect people, there are some things that possibly could be said to help us at least have some type of understanding. Is there anything?
I'm not gonna respond. We're not gonna respond to any citizens and citizens communication.
Okay. I would implore you to, as you can, to figure out how you can explain something to somebody. I understand, I have talked to someone, they said after the papers are signed, some things are gonna come out at that point. I don't know if it will or not. I'm hopeful that we will be able to all be understanding and understand what you have done. And we want to understand, we want to support you, but right now it's very difficult to support what you guys have done. Because, I mean, basically, we got a spanking, we don't know why. So if we could get to that point where you could at least explain some things. And then the second thing is, we do want to protect our city. Everyone here wants Texarkana to be the very best it can be. And we right now we're seeing things differently. And we're not seeing things as being the best they can be. I'm hopeful that this won't be a start of an avalanche. And I'm very hopeful that it will not be.
Thank you.
Thank y'all very much.
Linda Teeters, 229 Summit Drive, Texarkana, Arkansas. My question is this board going to continue this type of situation where you're going to make decisions that affects the city and its employees and not check with the municipal league first as to what should be your driving forces behind it? Shouldn't you have checked on this before you decided in the executive session to fire a city manager, or excuse me, to have him render his resignation? You would think you would have checked on some of the legal issues beforehand, so that we're dealing with this almost 5 to 6 days later. So my question is, are you going to learn from this, and in the future, perhaps, cross the T's and dot your I's before you take such drastic measures to make sure that this city is covered financially.
Is this sensitive communication or is this?
So I'm asking a question, in the future, are we gonna deal with this, or is this gonna be our modality of operation?
This particular question and this vote right here will be decided by the municipal league if there are any conflicts of interest or any reason why he could not serve as city manager interim. And that is the whole purpose in consulting with the municipal league that this needs to be done. That's all I can do.
As I stated earlier, Linda Teeters. A couple of questions and a couple of comments. This letter that we all received, here when it came in, did any city employees see this before tonight? Did anybody know about this before tonight? You may not want to say now, and I get it. But I've heard from individual people that they've never seen this before. If the citizens are seeing policy changes before they are, what did it come to, guys? I'm appointing a citizens advisory board that will become involved. Who gets to appoint that? Who oversees who's gonna be on that committee? Are we gonna do back to cronyism and under the table deals? I thought this city had come away from that. As Ms. Garner said, we have done such wonderful things in the last years. I would hate to see that erased because of ulterior motives, revenge-seeking people, and dirty tactics. As somebody said, what happens when y'all get mad at the next city employee? What happens if they don't do your bidding? You just go into executive session and have them fired if you get 4 votes? So I want to know who's going to be appointing people to the Citizens Advisory Board. I want to know, do employees of this city, are we having an ordinance change? Do employees of the city answer to the city manager, or do they answer to this board? Says board of directors will not have to file FOI requests for any city department to remain information. Department heads will ensure board members and all citizens receive information. All information, personal information, or just pertinent information? So we're gonna release anything that someone asks for, if it fits our agenda? Some of these policies I see as encouraging a very toxic work environment for our city. And it breaks my heart that the city employees may fear day to day whether or not they're gonna have a job. The public sees this. We do not want to turn into a circus. I hope we get some integrity back on this board. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
My name's Sandy Garner, for those that may not know me, and I just have a few things that I would like to say. I think that we are dancing on a very fine line on where we have come in the last 5 years as a city and as a community. And I also would like to say that in light of what has happened in the last week or week and a half, it actually has been going on for probably longer than that, I feel like we are taking a giant step backwards and are erasing the great strides that this city and you as directors have taken in the last 5 years. And I caution you about going forward. I think even legally we may be setting ourselves up for some things that I really don't want to go down to where everybody's suing the city again over things that have happened, and I think that we are there. And that I caution you all, and there are some of us that have very long memories about things that have happened. And we're out here, we may be silent, but we are here and we are watching. And just be very, very cautious in how we proceed with the future of this city, because there are others of us that are working hard also, that don't want to see it slap back down to where we were before.
Anyone else?
I'm Terry Peavy, I'm a former board director, and I just have to wonder, after learning about the executive session that was called Thursday night, and the results from that the following day, how are we going to try to get a quality city manager in the future when things have not been open and transparent? Several of you that have won positions in November said we want open and transparent government. And what we are seeing is not that. And if I was a city manager applying for this position, and I learned what had been done to the former city manager without any reasons being given that I'm aware of, and just to be fired at the drop, not fired, but resigned at the drop of a hat, could that happen to me? If I did something to make somebody mad, and they waited and waited until they could get even. And how long would that be? So a quality city manager for us, I'm very, very concerned about being able to hire with what has been done. And again, who's going to get the axe next? And to end, when I heard her say about lawsuits, we don't want to get back into that. Just to make sure that we're on the same page, the police parity lawsuit it was dismissed by the plaintiffs that our now city manager was a group of, and that can be refiled. When he's no longer city manager, he could join that group again, and they could refile another lawsuit against us. So just keep that in mind as you all go forward in the future.
Hello, board. Hello, mayor. My name is John Mormack. Happy to be here tonight. We had an election. The citizens spoke. We have 2 new city council members. We have a path forward, and where a lot of people are negative, I think it's very positive. So there's 2 sides to every story. It's kind of like a divorce. You listen to one side, oh, it's terrible. Listen to the other side. We have great opportunity. Thank you for having the opportunity to speak.
This one is from Dwayne Hall. It says, how can 2 or more Texarkana, Arkansas board of directors contact David Haak about taking a position of city manager that was not even open and did not have a meeting of the minds, which would violate an open meeting law? I requested my question be copied to all board members and be read aloud to the mayor during the 4/5/21 board meeting. I requested my question be added to the agenda in a manner that will allow an answer by each board member and the mayor of record. Dear Board of Directors, I've been involved in the revitalization of downtown district for several years. 7 years ago, downtown was a desolate, abandoned, with a community opinion that it was dangerous. No new businesses had opened in a decade, blight was rampant. When I lecture on economic and community development, I use the line that there were more feral cats than people. Usually they get to chuckle until I show a photo of a brawl taken years ago by a gang of cats meandering at twilight down the middle of the road. Texarkana always leads, followed by Hot Springs, El Dorado, and North Little Rock. I have had the unique opportunity to work with different communities in state and out of state, focusing on the revitalization, economic, and community development. So not only am I addressing you as a resident, but somewhat of a witness on what works and what does not. The true difference in success and failure under the umbrella of economic development is leadership, experience, and knowledge. Without that mix, all great plans will fail. Texarkana, Arkansas has thrived in recent years under the quality and demonstrated leadership of Dr. Haskin. Perhaps you do not get the opportunity to hear from council members in other towns, but I do. More often I hear these local representatives wish they could hire someone with a track record similar to Dr. Haskin's. Yes, Texarkana used to be the butt of jokes in Little Rock, but imagine the image has certainly changed under Dr. Haskin's leadership. All you have to do is step outside City Hall, take a stroll to witness the rebirth of downtown. While some of you may scoff, the most important spoke in the wheel of economic development is creating thriving, successful downtown district. In today's world, no corporation was going to choose to relocate town with an economically depressed downtown. Why? Because your downtown is a microcosm of the true health of your community. Where many have failed over the past 30 years, Dr. Haskin's picked up the reins and began work. This attention to the downtown district spurred on local investors to see the possibility and invest their local dollars back into the economy. Construction sector jobs were created from the revitalization of an abandoned empty buildings. Tourism sector's jobs were created and the art gallery. The food and beverage industry blossomed, creating more jobs for people found homes. Again, you may scoff at these small gains led in the community mindset of change. Your constituents begin feeling a bit of hope and we're no longer ashamed of downtown. Not only did Dr. Haskin add fuel to the economic growth of Texarkana, he also corrected the city's finances by increasing the city fund balance and improved staff morale. Today's Texarkana is becoming a model of other Arkansas towns because of Dr. Haskin's incredible staff at City Hall. None of you were serving down in the dark days a few years ago, so many of you weren't aware of the wicked game of politics and that were unleashed. It was a troubling time. I was so happy to think that those days were gone, only to see the dark, ugly cloud descend once again. This is not about personalities, this is about a proven track record. So I beg you tonight to reconsider your decision and truly think of the best interests of your constituents. Let's not turn back the page of those boarded up windows, feral cats, and zero economic growth. Let's instead reconsider the move forward and created and bringing bright shining stars to the Arkansas-Texas line, no longer shunned by Little Rock. We experience leadership and knowledge. With experienced leadership and knowledge, we can make that dream a reality, but only you hold that key. You should only reconsider. Tracy Carrington, Pray, 915 East 5th Street, Texarkana, Arkansas. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the board? If not, I don't know of any other business. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn.